I don't care how it works. For all I know, you guys have magic wands back there and you're just messing around with things to get it going. But even if you do, that's fine too, as long as it works. And we've been using different things that you guys have for a long, long time and following you. And we've been in that Skype group for, gosh, how long have you guys had that Skype group for?
Going on 5 years now.
Is it 5 years? Wow.
Yeah.
So I've been in there since day one. And, that thing is just always active because there are so many people that use what you do and they get good effects from what you do. So with that said, I will turn it over to Patrick and Gary to take over to do the smart person stuff.
Well, I can say one thing, Ray. I can go through our list of people that we pay. We've been paying you for 5 years, so it's okay.
Yeah, that is true. Things, despite the fact we haven't really done one of these in a long time now, I do still see that stuff trickle in all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for that. We just saved everybody 45 minutes of telling us who we are with the regular normal webinar series, right? So
there you go.
We kind of do things differently. We don't go through the whole process of, building up to sharing with you what it is we're going to tell you and share with you. It's very simple. We work on create innovative and new ways to get your local clients ranked, or your websites ranked, your videos ranked. And we, like Ray said, we are always doing something very, very different. And I'll just ask one simple question. And that is this: if you guys had a backlink that you could know would give you power and authority in the chat, if I were to say, give me a backlink from USA Today, give me a backlink from ABC, give me a backlink from SEMrush, and or give me a backlink directly from Google, in the chat, which one would you want? One of those four. Just type in which one you'd want. I see a Google. Let's see, what else we got? Everybody put your ideas in here. Google, 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 Google. Okay, so Ray, the consensus is, since Google owns and controls everything, that if we could get a backlink from Google, that would probably be pretty cool, right? And so we're going to share with you guys something today that I'm sure you've never thought of, but give me a 3 in the chat if you guys use Google Calendars, right? You got anybody use Google Calendars? I want to know who the queen is, not the king, right? You don't use calendars? Everybody use calendars. You got to book a calendar, right? Everybody uses Google Calendars.
I certainly do.
Yeah. Okay. So daily, right? So Scott, so here's the question. How many of you have ever thought that you could use Google Calendars as an SEO tool? Besides the people who might know who we are, no, right? Mark says no, no, no. So we're going to show you something today. Sit back and relax. Don't get too overcomplicated about what we're going to show you. But I think at the end, like Ray said, this is going to be another one of those mind-blowing situations where you're going to walk away saying, not possible, can't happen, right? So with that, I'm just going to introduce Gary. He's a co-founder, co-partner of the Ranking Store. Ray knows Gary very, very well. And I think Gary thought of this one night when he woke up in a sweat. He's like, oh my gosh, we could do something like this.
I'm not surprised. And by the way, I don't know if Gary knows this or not, but I'm related to a lot of Afrons, so I might be related to him in some distant way too, by the way.
Oh, interesting.
Really?
I would imagine there's not a whole lot of them out there. So we'll have to do a DNA test, Gary.
Ancestry.com.
Ancestry.com.
So,
with all that being said, let's kind of dig into this and let Gary kind of go through what it is that we're doing, show you some testimonies, and just kind of get some excitement going. And we will answer questions along the way when you ask the questions, because it's important for us to have you understand what we're doing so that we go to the next piece that you understand that, instead of answering everything at the end. And by the way, this is a live webinar, Ray. This isn't a video one, right? So
that's right.
we will have tendencies to mess up. So with that being said, authority stacked by Google. Take it away.
All right, folks. I'm going to start out the webinar asking a simple question. Patrick already took and kind of spilled the beans a little bit there, but here's my question. How many of you took the time to go to Walmart and buy a bag of Depends before you came to the webinar? Give me a one if you knew to bring Depends. If you didn't, we're not going to have a time to let you stop and go back and get them. So with that said, we're going to move on forward, and I'm going to show you some examples of what has actually been accomplished in the short time that the technique you're about to be exposed to has been available. There's only been 3 webinars. You're number 4, and this is about a month old. So a lot of these testimonies you're about to see are right from the very beginning or forward. And the very first one I got yesterday. So we're gonna take a look. I'm sorry, I'm mistaken. This one is about 3 weeks old. And what you want to look for is the rank change. How many spots it goes up. Okay, as you can see right here. And they're giving you a keyword to show you what it is and what the current rank is. What you're about to see is very steadily fast movement on a regular basis for about, I'm going to say about 85% of the time, consistent nonstop movement up. Now, if I go too fast, somebody slow me down, okay? Like I said, I had this testimony that came in yesterday, actually last night about 8:40 p.m. It doesn't show the date, but it came from last night. And what John told me was he has a low paying client, which was his very first SEO client he ever had. And to get the client, he had to promise never to increase the charge. So he has a limit to what he can do on a $350 a month budget. So as you can see, what's today's date is the 16th. He built the very first quad stack on April 27th. Okay, I'm going to show you the image here in just a second. We're going to skip ahead right over to the SEMrush image. And then I'll back up. April 27th, I want you to take a look at what happened to his traffic on the very same day he built his first authority quad. Can everybody see that? Can you give me a 1 if that is impressive to you and you understand what you're looking at? What technique have you ever used on the very first day it had a jolt of traffic caused by what you did? Can you give me a 1 in the chat? Who's gonna read the chat for me? Ray, can you pop in and read that chat for me?
I sure can. Sorry, I was looking for the mute button.
Oh,
Yep, so we've
it's
got
okay.
a lot of ones here. We got one from me. We got from, I only see initials, so I apologize. JC,
okay.
MD. So give us some more ones in there. Come on, boys and girls.
And like everything else, right? And, we got to temper what we say with these results are not typical, blah, blah, blah. We don't know what else he did along the way, but we do know that this is a main piece of what he did do. So I don't want everybody to say, oh, I got this. And then 3 days later, it didn't move. I mean, we've got guys that have been working on some, tougher keywords, maybe tougher areas, takes a little bit longer to get stuff done. So just as a disclosure, we don't want to try to just, hype everything up and say, this is what everybody's going to get. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Sometimes you have to do something else. But the reality of it is, in this particular case, this is the only thing that basically he was doing. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, I go back to and show you this was the only thing he did on this particular one. But I mean, when I saw this image, I almost fell off my chair. I wanted to go by, put on a set of Depends. I didn't want to have an accident. But going back here, he actually says that's the only thing he did was add the quad stack. And that's really dramatic. So who's ready to see what a quad stack looks like?
I certainly am.
You ready? Now, this is a rather deep quad stack, folks. This is what I like to refer to as a 5x15. Now, we can only see 3 across, right? We see Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So what you have here is, and for those that have never been exposed to this, and there's not many that will have been, this is what we I like to call a everlasting link, because it's set Monday through Friday, or it's set daily. And if I were to take and move this calendar forward, I could go into next year, the year after, the date of my own funeral, and this will still be going. My grandchildren's funeral will take place, and this will still be an ongoing link. Auto repeating daily, every 15 minutes, repeating. Now, we'll go a little deeper into the structure of this stack a little later on. But here's your first glimpse of an auto-repeating backlink from Google itself. Is that fascinating? Is that fascinating to anybody?
Yeah, like about a hell yeah.
Well, it is to me.
You know, it's definitely something nobody's ever seen before, correct?
Not only that, it's just probably as close to a syndication as you can get, because it's a Google backlink that's auto repeating daily. Now, this one in black right here, whatever time this thing is triggering, looks like about 2 p.m. It's going to trigger every single day at the same time. Now, what is Google looking for when it scores your backlinks and what you've done for SEO? It scores consistency. Do you think there's anything that's going to be more consistent than something firing the same time every day? From a power that Google recognizes and appreciates?
Yeah, Ray, you know what's exciting is that I know what's coming, and everybody's like, what the hell's he talking about?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the hard part.
Yeah. You're scratching your head like, all right, this doesn't make any sense to me.
All
But
right.
it's
We're going to back up and cover the structure in a little bit. So for right now, we're going to go through some more examples, because some of these are really exciting. Okay. This is Brenda, who is one of the very first people that ever did a stack. She actually is not in a traditional niche. She actually sells books on Amazon. And one of the things that happened for Brenda was she did one of the early quad stacks. And I think I have an image out of place, but we're going to show you her image. Her book moved 25,000 spots in a single 24-hour period. Well, I think I might have removed her image out of here. My apologies. I'll have to add that in before we do the next webinar.
Well, Gary, let me help you out here just real quick so everybody understands. She creates puzzle books, okay, and on Amazon, and she was ranked 1 million. Ray, you know what being ranked 1 million gets you?
Well, I have no idea. Probably not a whole
Nothing.
lot.
It gets you nothing. It's not a good thing. It's a bad thing. So she creates puzzle books around best-selling authors. Okay. which is pretty cool, little twist. So she was ranked 1 million, and within a few days, she dropped 25,000. Within another day, a couple days, she dropped. She ultimately dropped all the way down from 1 million to 25,000 in just a few weeks, right? So that gave her authority status in Amazon's eyes. And now what she is doing is that because of who she's writing the puzzle books for, which is a very well-known old Western hero, which we would all know if I mentioned his name, but I'm not going to do that. So what happens, when you go buy something, Ray? You're going to buy something. And what also happens at the bottom of that page when you buy something? What does it say? People that bought this also bought what? Right?
list. Yep.
Right. So guess what? She became an also bought on the very top #1 book that's being sold on Amazon. So
Nice.
she's getting all the authority of that, and she is in that little bundle package of being, associated. Well, if you buy the book, then you better buy her puzzle book because she's the #1 related to that bundle. Isn't that cool? I mean, that's even better than being #1 puzzle book because she's associated with the #1 book being sold.
Right. I'm sure the #1 puzzle book doesn't come anywhere near the #1 fiction book.
You got that right. So her sales are exploded and everything else. So that was the her story and how it happened, going from 1 million down to 25,000, but getting that related bundle was her fame and story of success with using this product. So that's the short of the story for Brenda. It was really pretty cool when we got that. It just blew me off my chair.
Well, there's one more piece to this before we move on from Brenda. Brenda sent me a message. I don't know, it's been a little while now. That said her business has increased 40% over last year, simply by adding a few little things like the authority stack and a few other features. Now, in a pandemic, for you to grow 40% in a pandemic says a whole lot, folks. So I want you to keep that in mind. And we're going to move on to the next person. Now, this is Randy. And Randy's one of my favorite people, and he was going to be on here to do this testimony live, but he had a conflicting meeting, so we couldn't get him booked in time. So, but I will be telling you his story as we move on. And Randy's story is really unique. Randy's son is a dentist. And nobody could tell this story quite like Randy. Now, Randy does not work for the Ranking Factory. Okay. But when he first came to us, Patrick and I both gave him a little bit of help. And he took it to heart and ran with it. And his son had an SEO agency that had been working for them, I'm going to say somewhere around 2 years, and really hadn't moved any of their sites. They had 4 locations. Somebody misspelled strategy. I guess I must be guilty of that.
It's your slide.
It's my slide. So, make a long story short, the best that they had done for any of the 3 sites was number 9.
Right.
And the rest of them were page 3, page 4, and yet they kept paying them month after month after month. Now, from a standpoint of that we do SEO, that's the worst case nightmare, because one of these times somebody's going to pick up that phone and say, well, it's been a nice ride. We haven't seen results. I can't justify keep spending this money month after month after month, right? Hey, how many people have had that phone call come across their desk before? Give me a 1 if you've had that phone call.
Or you replaced some SEO that had those results, the
Exactly.
same thing, right? Exactly, right?
So
we've all run into them.
We've all ran into it. And we may actually cover how to handle that call if we have time. I'm not sure. Let me go back to Randy's story because I want to really go into depth with it. Randy's son had a fourth location that wasn't part of the agency. And he talked to his son, twisted his arm actually, because the location was about 18 months old. And they used our strategies to test on that location only. Now, the SEO company had never got anybody in the 3-pack. And when Randy started, this location was on page 3. Okay? Page 3. Within 30 days, Randy had them number 3 in the 3-pack within 30 days. And that's just really the beginning of the story. Now, Randy will tell you that the quad stack is just one piece. There's 2 other pieces to what he was doing. We probably won't go into that today, but for those of you that decide to join us and start using quad stack, we will expose the whole strategy that Randy used. Now, we're going to go a little farther. One of these slides, we do go into it. Randy today has 42 number 1 keywords they rank for all 4 locations. No matter where you go up there, where his son has a location, they're ranking at least 42 keywords number 1. Now, what does that mean for a client? In this particular case, each of those locations, that means about $80,000 a month increase for each of those locations. Do you think that his son is happy with what's happened? Now this, we got to contribute, guys. Tell me what you think.
So here's the bottom line. If everybody out here is doing some form of SEO for your clients, what Randy is sharing and what Gary's sharing here is that when you add the quad stacks to the equation, it has the ability to enhance what you're already doing. And if you're not doing very much, it can take over what you were doing. So this piece right here is a very integral part of the cog in the wheel of you being really successful with your clients and giving them an extra boost for exactly what they're looking for you to do, which is increase their rankings and increase their traffic, which increases the sales that they're going to get, right? So that's why we would like to tell the story about Randy, because as Gary said, it's not the only piece, but it is an integral part of what's going on. So that's the exciting part, right? If you guys can resonate with that, give me a 7 in the chat. You know, you got to keep adding things to what you're doing that makes sense to get more leads, to get more rankings, to have your customers happy. Does that make sense to everybody? Give me a 7 if that makes sense. What's next, Gary?
Well, I've been asked, how will this affect the harder niches? Okay, and I'm quite sure everybody on here would be interested if you could rank for the hard stuff like weight loss and those crazy type of keywords, or lawyers or dentists, or the hard to get clients, right? Would anybody be interested to see what a national campaign would do?
What, national? You mean not local?
Not local. How about national?
Well, most of us can't do very well with national.
How would you feel if you could walk into Toyota and you've had Westinghouse as a client for the last year, and you could prove what you could do to Toyota? Would you think that they would listen to you if you have national clients?
Yeah, well, you only need one.
You only need one, right? So we're going to give you an example of a national client. Now, this we had to take and adjust our thinking because of this. Dan Kay, who I know pretty well, he modified some of the things that I had been doing. And he had a national client in the legal niche. He says a sub niche. And basically what he did was run a very deep calendar stack. Instead of just being 4, he took it to what we call 38 deep. That's a really, really deep quad stack. So at the time, after running this quad, after about 10 days or so, he found himself on page 2 for 2 of his keywords with a 50,000 a month search keywords. Okay. Anybody have an idea what 50,000 a month search keyword is like?
I wouldn't
Let's
want to
go
be
back
paying the
to-
CPC bill on it, I'll tell you that.
Let's go a different route. How many of you have ever targeted a 50,000 a month search keyword? Give me one in the chat.
On a national basis?
National basis.
Yeah,
Ooh, I can
Not
hear that
many.
thunder in my background. Guys, if you happen to lose me, somebody's going to have to take over the PowerPoint, okay? So,
have Ray get ready for it.
yeah, well, Rod has it.
Okay, Roger got it, okay.
So we're going to move on to the next stage of this, where Dan did his update. Okay. He says another client, another 30-day window of keyword rankings. He says, keep pumping, this shit works. Now, update. Client is now on the first page for the main keyword, which is also the service they provide nationally. Okay. Folks, do we have your attention here? You understand what we're showing you? This, if you can
Pay
rank
attention, everybody. Come on.
If you can rank nationally, you can rank anything locally. You understand that?
That should excite some people.
Okay. Now, he said, all the things I've done, there's no crazy linking methods, diagrams, or any of the rest of that stuff. Just straightforward G sites, slides, counters, and a bit of data from Quora, how to structure my links. I haven't looked at building anything beyond the initial run. I can only imagine what that'll do. This is as powerful a system as you'll find anywhere. And this client called me this morning telling me he didn't have enough reps to handle the new volume. He says, tweak, tune, test, and let it rip. The campaign was built about a month ago in about 2 hours, and it hasn't been touched since. He said, I might revisit and start hitting it with Backlink Factory. And by the way, you're going to get a version of Backlink Factory as a bonus for those that buy today. And for added measure, some of the straggler keywords he's added that he hadn't touched in the last 30 days. So we're going to move on. That's Dan Kay's story. And we may touch a little farther on in the presentation, but I want to show you the start of a campaign that's only 3 days old. This guy sent me his images, but you can see his dates. This one's March 20th. And when he started, oops, I didn't put the second video in, did I? Where my other, oh, there it is. I see it. We skipped one. For some reason, we skipped. So this is the beginning of his campaign. And you notice there is a 1 in there, but mostly 2s, 3s, 6s, 7s, 20s. You see that? So 3 days with a quad effect. Okay. So here's the thing. 3 days, how much activity could you expect in 3 days? Now, Nigel's a convert. He's telling you now, he can see this is really impressive to him in just 3 days. There's the beginning, it's 17th of March. And now we're starting to fill in the ones.
See all the ones in there? That guy, I mean, how's that? If you could do that for your local clients, and not saying that you can for every one of them, but as an example that this is what can be done. How many of you would love to have your charts turn this green for the local customers, especially if they were not in the top 3, but below the top 3? And now you can start moving them in the green in the 3, 2, and 1 positions. How much traffic do you think that they would get when you do that? And then what kind of hero would you be to them for driving that traffic? Give me a 5 if that makes sense, right? If you could do what you're seeing here, does that make sense for you and your customers and your clients for you to do that work or have us do it for you? I mean, that's pretty impressive, I would say.
Okay. We want to have a distinct advantage over our competitors. And they won't even know how you did it. Now, here's the question I want to put out there for everybody. When you use Google as your backlinks, what tracking system covers and locates those links to your, exposes you to your competitors? Anybody want to take a guess?
Ray, when you're doing research on a competitor and what tools do you use to see what their backlinks are? Right, most people will use Ahrefs. Is that one of them? SEMrush, another one? Anybody use anything else to track backlinks?
All right, I'm going to go ahead and expose it just for the sake of time. There is no service currently that tracks any Google property backlinks. Now, when I say that, I'm going to say this too. QuadStacks has never been revealed to the marketplace. This is only the 4th webinar. So what you're seeing here, nobody has a clue and has never known anything about it. It's only been available to anybody for 6 or 7 weeks in total. That's it. And only those people that have either been on a webinar or I have personally taught even know anything about it. There is not a view source that's going to show you where the lake is coming from. The stack remains hidden. In fact, I'm going to go back and show you why the stack remains hidden. Well, let's go forward for that. We will come to that. If I do not show you, remind me why it remains hidden. So I'm going to cover a couple more testimonials. We're going to get right in deep into the Dan K one effects. This is actually one of our new persons that was actually on, I believe, the first or the second webinar we ever did. Do you remember, Patrick, was it the first webinar or second?
I think it was the second one.
Second one. So she uses a couple other softwares besides the quads. But every client she has, and she's an agency, everything that she has built are all moving up in less than 2 weeks. The jump is dramatic and continues daily for the clients that they did this for. You think she's happy?
I'm happy for her. That's for damn
Oh,
sure.
I am too. I'm tickled myself. So we're going to go into some of the Dan K stuff. As we mentioned, some of the keywords are very difficult stuff. The volume is 24,000 and 20,000 on these keywords that got added. Up 24 and up 12. The change in organic keywords after the first, I believe this is the 2-week one that he sent me. 132 keywords, up 40. The next one I was really impressed with, 617 organic keywords, up 87. Folks, if that doesn't impress you, I don't know what's going to impress you right there. Now, how about a video? Will a video rank? This right here, if I tell you the person's name, you'll all recognize him because he's a JV himself. And before he wanted to do a webinar, he wanted to test the product. So I kind of helped him out. He took a 2-year-old video that actually he put up for his son. And you can actually see his basic keyword was, what's the most expensive Balsamar Pokemon card?
I think you can still check it today and it's still there.
Well, I'm going to show you where it's at. Right there is number 1. It took basically 3 days to hit number 1. The first day it hit number 15. The next day it was number 2. The third day it's hung at number 1 ever since. It has no other activity other than a small quad. And in this small quad that he built, he forgot to put his attachments. So it basically is only a backlink from the calendar itself with no authority being added to it.
You know, can I throw one thing in here?
Sure.
I just did a search for that myself, and I did. It came up as number 1, which is awesome. But what I found was, as I was typing it in, it was a Google predictive, autofill.
Auto suggest, autofill.
Auto suggest. Thank you. Which means people are searching that. So this is not some random, know nothing search.
Right.
This is a search term people are typing in. And so the fact that it shows up number 1 on something that people are actually searching for, that's big.
Yeah, I haven't even noticed that when I was doing it. I just type it in and automatically go there to check it. But yeah, when you can get a automatic search suggested, I mean, that's better than SEO.
And by the way, all I put in was most expensive B, and that's what came up number 1 as the most
Oh my
searched
gosh.
thing. So the fact that does show up there, that's a big deal.
Thank you. What was impressive to me,
That's
guys,
awesome. Thanks, Ray.
was the video was 2 years old and sat in no man's land for 2 years before anything happened to it. So it was an old property that never had anything done to it.
Well, how many of us, can have stuff that's just sitting on our hard drives, and that we know that if we could repurpose it and get it ranked, that it could drive cash and drive money to us. Give me a 5-minute chat if you got something in the video that you could rank for, a website you could rank for, an image you could rank for, something like that. This will help you do that, right? Tons of stuff, Ray says, right? I mean, you could just go through your hard drive and look at all the stuff that we've done over the years and like, man, if that could only rank. Now that you have a tool, a process, a way, to try to enhance that stuff and, get it moving up in the ranks to start making and turn it into some cash as well. Even from the affiliate side, right? You can look at this video as there's a video that you can rank for. We got guys that are doing affiliate marketing and ranking for affiliate sites, for weight loss, for all kinds of different things for that. So it's pretty interesting how you can utilize this.
Okay, we're gonna go into the structure of how we do this and why it works and how it works. So if you have a question, stop me. Okay. So what I do is we create encounters. What I like to do is create what we call events. Now, in the first row, which is across, what I do is I put content in it. I put attachments in it, which we cover later on. And it's the only row that has a target URL in the event. Everybody know what I mean by a target URL?
That'd be where we want all the juice to flow.
That's where we want the juice to flow. In everything that we do, If it's not YouTube or it's not Amazon, we always recommend a buffer site or a buffer property. Okay. And it's kind of like, my expression I use is it's kind of like running a fire hydrant through a straw. So that's the image I want to keep in your mind, a fire hydrant through a straw. But that from there, we change everything. From there, we start stacking. So we use the share links of each previous event for the next event. So we've stacked all this power going to the top, but we also auto repeat every row. So they're firing every day at the same time forever. Okay,
Guys,
unless
Gary, let's just ask a real simple question. Give me a 3 if you don't understand that, and a 7 if you think you understand it. Give me a 3 or a 7, one or the other, because it's important at this point, that we don't go too far if we have a lot of people that just don't quite understand what we're doing. Right? 3 if you, okay. So look at it this way. Everybody understands what a stack is. Yes. Give me a 1 if you understand a stack. Right? We all kind of understand a stack. So a stack is basically the authority of one property, like in a PBN. If you have a 5-tiered PBN, the link from number 5 goes to number 4, right? And 4 to 3, and 3 to 2, and 2 to 1, and 1 to your money site. Right? So give me an 8 if that makes sense. Everybody understand the basic theory of that, right? An 8, right? So literally what Gary is showing
for this
you,
audience, one thing that might make them understand that a little bit
sure,
is think of your YouTube videos. And we used to tell you all the time, link one video to another video to another video to another video. And that's going to drive that link juice through all of that
beautifully.
stuff.
Right. Exactly.
hey guys, how would you like for me to stop right here, go to a live calendar and open the events so you could actually see them? Give me a 1 if that would appeal to you.
No, we have never done this before. So, all right, let's get on the wild side.
Okay. I have a Google Calendar up.
Oh, I just got dizzy.
Folks, can you see everybody? Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah,
Looks
we
like
can
a
see
Pride
it.
Month celebration.
Okay. Now this is a little deeper. This is a little deeper stack than a traditional stack. This is something I've been playing with. I like to call a mega power stack
All right.
because it's really deep.
Everybody close your eyes. This is a surprise. Close your eyes. I'll tell you when to open them. Right?
So our target
Okay.
is
You
right
cheated.
here.
Everybody, Ray, they cheated. I'm telling you, I saw them cheat.
So
Now-
did I.
Now at the bottom, I've attached what I call authority docs. They're all the authority from YouTube, from Wikipedia, from Scholar, from Google News, my keywords. And we've attached all this authority. What Google says is authority, we've attached to our events. Does that make any sense to anybody?
Just type in the word depends if now you know why we said you need depends.
Yeah.
Okay.
I tell you, this is making a little more sense to me because just so everybody knows, this is something that I'm learning right now myself. And this helps to understand that a little better because I was going through some of that last night. Oh, the Wikipedia site and the Google News site. And I was like, okay, wait a minute, what? But now I see exactly what you mean by that. So that's good.
So if we're going to drop down and I'm going to show you the inner structure because this is linked to this. How did we do that? This is linked to this and it's stacked. And the problem I'm having, let's do it in a different row. So I don't have that interfering. See if I can get to it here. I can't. When I open a document, let me see if I can move this. I can't move it.
That's all right.
When I open one of these, at the top, which we can't see, there's 3 dots. The 3 dots will allow me to get to my sharing link or my publish link, which gives me the share link or an embed code, both. I just can't quite get to it where it's
All
at.
right. What?
So, because I can't get to it, all I can do is say this one's linked to this one, this is linked to this one, and it's all this is stacked up, including we're stacking our authority docs and our keywords, and my keywords are anchor text to a target. So we've put everything that Google has taught us that's an authority into each element of this stack. Does that make sense for everybody? Let's see if I can figure out how to get back to my PowerPoint. Here we go. Okay, did we lose anybody?
No, we still have everybody here, but I think we might have lost somebody's brain someplace along the line.
Well, let's just move on to the next one. And we're going to cover the same thing we were talking about. We take the share link from number 2, it becomes the target for number 3. We rinse and repeat all the way through. Okay.
Okay, so based on your example, Ray, earlier was on the YouTube doing the same thing. Does everybody now understand, you know, the stacking and how we're going from up and down and left to right? You know, so give me a 5 if it makes more sense now. Has everybody got it? Because if you don't understand this piece of it, then you're really not going to understand the power of what we're building here, because, you know, just remember, one stacks on the other. Like Ray said, with the YouTube, you put a link in one YouTube to a link to the next YouTube, then a link to the next YouTube, and you're just flowing the power from one to the next. The one to the next. You know, it's put it this way. Everybody knows what a pressure washer is, correct? Right? Give me a 9 if you know what a pressure washer is, right? So you hook your hose up to the faucet, and that's a hose. And then on the other end of the hose comes, you know, water that just can go to your garden. But when you hook that connection to your pressure washer up, it takes the water from your hose and pushes it through itty bitty little tiny, you know, channels, and it comes out the other end and literally can cut steel. I'm over exaggerating, but your hose can't cut steel, but a pressure washer can cut steel. So when you look at what Gary's sharing here with you, we're building an ecosystem that's taking water from your faucet, i.e. the calendars, and we're linking them to the next one and the next one and the next one, which is creating that pressure, and it repeats daily forever, right? Exactly, V. Daily forever on the horizontal line. And on the vertical line, the vertical is giving that power all the way down to the horizontal line, which is moving to the right. Does that make, if it doesn't make sense, can you conceptualize what I'm trying to say? That we're transferring power, you know, from one to the next to the next to the next. So when it comes out the faucet, it's got a lot of power going to your target, to your video, to your Q&As, to your, you know, GMBs, to your videos, to your, you know, wherever you want that to go to your website. That's why this has so much power.
Everybody see that we're into September?
There's a couple of questions that are in
October?
the Q&A
Yes.
area
Okay.
about this, and it's from Dale. Are the attached docs, so when we showed like the Wikipedia and all that, are they links to the Wikipedia is what he's asking there?
Well, let me show, we'll go ahead and show somebody a live one. Let me drop this down. I was gonna go move on, but let's just show somebody.
You're lifting your skirt up, Gary.
I know I am. We'll just do one. And let's do since this is everybody's a lot with YouTube, let's go ahead and hit our YouTube one. This is the YouTube authority doc. And in my authority doc, we're based around that particular keyword, monodental implants. Now, this one is probably a little shorter than most authority docs, but as you go down the list, there's probably 150 to 200 that they felt were the authority in this subject matter. And also is the referring domains, YouTube, Google Lead Services, TV, YouTube, support Google, Music, developers account. So the authority is doing what for you for this list? Anybody want to take a wild guess? How about a citation? Does it create a citation for you?
Yeah, it creates one.
Definitely creates a lot of citations. And those videos that you have there, those YouTube videos, are those related to that same subject, I would assume, or?
I'll even take the time to show you how I made one.
No,
No? Okay. You go in the course, it covers it all.
exactly. Ray, you know what Gary's like. He'll just like fillet the fish right in front of you.
I will. I actually will.
Here's the idea, right? When you take and put all of that authority content, like for SEO, for YouTube, for anything else to rank anything, you have to have authority content, right?
Right.
So when you take the authority content from a Wikipedia, you can't necessarily take that authority and give it as a link to your property. But when you take all that data from Wikipedia and you put it into a Google document, i.e., what did we say at the very beginning of the webinar? Google has the authority. So when you take that and put it into a Google document, Google will read that document if you're sharing it. And when you're sharing it, you're sharing that to the link to where you want that authority to go to. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So you got all that authority in that Google Doc, and you got one link, which is the Google document, which is the backlink to where you want that authority to go, to your YouTube, to your website, to your images, to your GBB, your Google review post, whatever it is, right? So that's how that works. And nobody really ever really thinks about how to do this.
And then a simple question here. When you do this for, let's say, a client, are you creating a whole new Gmail account to do that
No.
kind of stuff?
No,
No? Okay.
Well, use your own Gmail account.
you have a limitation of 600 calendars per Gmail.
Which is plenty.
Sorry, how many?
600.
Oh, is that all?
All right, guys, look over here. This is one account that I have. So, and I could go all the way to the top, and that we'll bring it down, and that's how many calendars I have in just this account. And I don't know
You
how
never
many.
have to worry about going out and getting, new Google accounts or devoted, like Matthew's asking, right? You don't have to do that.
You have to work within Google's boundaries and system. As long as you work within their boundaries, you're never going to have a problem. They're going to reward you for doing it. So,
And then Ray, because this is a DFY, we have a course to teach you how to do this.
Yep.
And then also we have the DFY, there's certain things under the DFY part that we do for those that are doing it that are just secret sauce to us, that are not part of the actual course. But everything within the course that Gary's sharing with everybody here is way more than enough to get the job done. It's just that there are certain secret things that we just don't want to lift our skirt up on at the moment, if you know what I mean.
I do.
So basically, it's a rinse and repeat. Once you have this down, you can do it in your sleep. It's just tedious. Just to give you an idea, it's very easy to do a simple 5x5, even a 5x10. When you get to a 5x38, the labor takes me 3.5 hours to do.
Oh, jeez.
And that's when you know what you're doing.
Yes. And
So-
and you better be focused, because after 3.5 hours, it's very hard to maintain focus and still pay attention where you're at. In the early quads, that you notice they're all the same color, but you notice as we matured and we developed, we changed the colors on each one so we can
Yep.
keep track of where we're at. Does that make sense to everybody? The
Yep.
colors will help you keep track of where you're at
Right.
if you decide to do this on your own. Now, I tend to lean towards Monday through Friday because that's when businesses are open. Some people like 7 days a week, so they repeat it daily. I don't know that it makes a lot of difference. It probably does a little, but it's just whatever you believe in. And with that, we're going to go. There's an image of a triple stack. We're 15 deep instead of 5. A Dan K is 38 deep. And a Mega Power, which we haven't offered for sale at this time, is 48 deep. Now, I would never recommend either one of those except for very difficult niches or national clients. Everybody understand that?
Yeah, it's not needed.
It's not needed and it's too much power. It's just not necessary, but I will recommend always use a buffer. Okay? Is there any confusion on a buffer dock?
If anybody doesn't know what a buffer dock is, give me a 5 and we'll explain it for you. Okay. A buffer dock. Do we create separate Google? Do you create separate Google? Oh, all right. So he doesn't understand what a buffer dock is. Okay. So remember those documents that Gary was just showing you for Wikipedia, right? So all of the authority of Wikipedia that we put into a Google document, you wouldn't want to send, 500 Wikipedia links to your website, 500 Wikipedia backlinks to, your YouTube video, whatever, right? You're just going to hurt yourself by doing that. But when you create the hot dog, so to speak, your authority documents of Wikipedia is the hot dog. The Google document is the bun. Does that make sense to everybody? You're wrapping all your all your authority documents into a bun, or in this case, a Google document. And then from the Google document, you're only sending one single link out that has all the authority built up into it from all that which you saw Gary put in that document. Does that make sense? Give me a 3 if that makes sense. V, you got that, V? Does that make sense? Okay. So if nothing else, I want everybody here to think about what we're saying. And Ray, this is basically what you taught before, right? Is that if you look at your YouTube video, that is an authority of Google, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So when you're doing your description within your YouTube video allowed 5,000 characters, and you're putting links in that description from that YouTube description box to anything outside of that, that is what? That's a link from YouTube, an authority of Google, but it has all that information in it that you've wrapped in there and passing that on to the next entity that you want to share it with. Would you say that's correct, Ray?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's somewhat different, but it is very similar in idea. In execution, it's very, very similar. Obviously, the use is a little bit different on why you're doing it and whatnot, but the execution is exactly the same.
Right. So hopefully that'll clear everybody's mind in case of a new penguin. What does that mean? You're talking about a new Google update?
Yes.
Okay, this is a very interesting fact. Do you think Google penalizes itself on any update? I mean, Ray, it's a legitimate question.
Well, the thing is that everybody's always said, nah, they don't penalize themselves. But in the case of YouTube, it used to be a free for all. They do limit it now a little bit, compared to what they used to do. But I mean, you used to be able to do anything, and you could send 8 billion crappy links to a YouTube video and rank it to page 1 in an hour. So they have dialed it back a little bit, but for the most part, that's still more or less a no.
Well, and Matthew, you said then why a buffer? It's because the buffer is what is holding all the power. And if you were to just throw 5,000, backlinks or links to your property that you're trying to rank for, you'd crush it, right? So you wrap it in the bun into a Google property, and that Google property has a single link out to what it is that you're trying to rank for. So it's only one link, and it's a Google link. And inside of that Google link has think of it as a spider sack, right? Everybody knows that a spider, when you see a spider sack, there's hundreds of spiders in that sack, but there's only one sack. Okay. But there's a lot of power within those spiders if they were to get loose. So you just want to have that one laser link coming out from the hose to your pressure washer to your site. Right. So hopefully that makes sense. And I think Matthew, it does, right? So, with all that being said, we'll continue to ask questions, but these things get so exciting that we know they work. We've built them. We've been testing them, and we know that there's a course that can help you. I'm gonna ask Gary to do one thing. Gary, can you open up your Skype and just show the Skype channel where everybody is in learning, so that everybody can see? Over on the left-hand side, you can see our Skype groups that we have, everybody. Ray's in a bunch of them as well. Okay. But in that particular group, we've already got 209 people that are participating, in this. And we've only done, this is like the 3rd or 4th webinar, Ray.
This is the 4th.
So this is only from 3 webinars. So there's people in there that are learning and helping as well. But Gary is in here all the time answering your questions. And Ray, you can kind of attest to the fact that, we don't put people on an island and take the boat away, right?
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
We're here to help you and make sure that, you've got your answers, to your questions. And, you could just scroll down and you could just see people are just putting in all kinds of different results and asking questions. And, we're there to help everybody. So I don't want anybody to think that you're just going to buy another PLR course and blah, blah, blah. We get more stats like Gary's sharing with you right there. It's just really kind of a cool family that we have. So you're not going to get lost.
Hey folks, let's show one real quick. This is Sue, and she's given us a testimony that shows her increase. She had 200 recommendations. The increase in that number increase in the last 7 days shows the 5-week difference. We're using G-Sites, calendars, and DocStacker. So you can see the tools work in coordination with each other. But you're seeing these testimonies live in the room. Also, we tend to put videos in here, real quick ones to help you out. We show you how to do schema for say on a G site. How many people knew how to put schema on a G site?
Schema on a G site, huh?
Yes.
Gary, my gosh, dude, you're gonna, by the time this webinar is over, you're gonna be bloody naked.
Hey, I didn't show it. I just asked the question. I just asked the question.
Look, if we can't have any fun, it doesn't make any sense doing this, guys. So, you know, the link, Rod put the link in there. You can reach out to Rod, and he'll take care of it. Ray, what are, you know, kind of wrap this up with your thoughts on, you know, what it is, what you've seen, what you've looked at, what you looked at the beginning. Now you're seeing some explanation to it. You know, what are your thoughts? For a realtor, would you think their homepage or a landing page would be better? I would do both.
Yeah, I was going to say I would probably do both. I mean, the problem you're going to run into with that is most realtors aren't going to have the landing page and talk them into doing the landing page and whatnot. But if they're up for it, I would definitely do both. For instance, here I've got the escape rooms, and we've got a website where people can go and they can book and whatnot. But what I will do is I'll make landing pages for specific promotions, or maybe we got something new that we're doing. So I'll do specific landing pages just for that. So if I was a realtor, I'd be doing both. I mean, I quite honestly, if I was a realtor, I'd probably be making, you know, a mini landing page for each property that I have, for goodness sakes. So
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I would definitely see both being very useful.
You know, and can you skip, Matthew, can you skip PBNs? I'd have to think about that, but if you had a PBN built already, then part of the strategy of what we would have here with the quad stacks would be, I don't know, Ray, think this through with me, right? If he's got a PBN already, I would
You
create,
got it already, I'd use it.
I'd create a quad stack that's going to go directly to his money site, but
Yeah.
you know, through the buffer pages. But I'd also create another another quad stack that's going to link to the farthest tier out of his PBN to throw
Right.
that juice
Just
through
let
his
that
PBN.
run right through it. Why not?
Is that, would you agree with that theory?
Yeah, and I definitely would agree with that. And let me ask you this now. What I'm picturing is, in my head, when we talk about these, what I picture in my head is the old link wheels.
Yep.
You know, it's kind of what's in my head with that, is the way I visualize it. And one of the things that we used to do with link wheels and link pyramids would be like, let's say we've got, you know, a link pyramid going to some money site at the end. So it's going to a buffer and then to the money site. And then sometimes the different items in there, we'd build a whole nother pyramid just to that one, and a whole nother pyramid just to that one. Would you be doing that? So for instance, let's say you've got a YouTube video going to a buffer site, going to whatever, you know, going to a main site in the end. Would you then build a whole nother one just to one of those powerful links that's already in there and just keep stacking on the stacks? I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but.
Well, I think, you know, Gary could probably answer that as well, but here's the point. Anything that you have out there, you can use the quad stacks to link to that. Just be careful, because I'll give you one quick example, right? And you probably already know this from the very beginning when we started to do Backlink Factory.
Yep.
Remember when Adrian sent 1 million links to his GPB and it went from number whatever it was to number 1, like in 10 minutes, right? And then when he went to check it the next day, it wasn't even on page 100.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yep. And I've seen that many times.
And so that's why we use the buffer page, so that you only have a single link, but it has all the power of those 1 million links behind it. And so you could do the same thing with the PBNs. You could build more PBNs if you have them, and then just send the juice to the outer layer, like you just said, of the PBNs, and run that all the way through the beginning to for the very last link that goes to whatever money site it is that you want, right?
All right.
So that theory works, I think, perfectly for anything that you're trying to do. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, once you get the hang of this thing, I know Scott's on here. He's in your group, and Scott is he's turned into, you know, quite an SEO guy, but he sells gift boxes. That's his business. He's not an SEO guy. He has a business, right? And so over the years, he's the one that has come up with a lot of ideas when we're on the quad stacks, when he's playing with them as a business owner, how he's going to use it in his business. So we've gotten a lot of ideas from guys that are not SEOs, but they want to SEO their own company. And they're like crazy, you know, excited about how this is working for them.
Nice.
So
Now, let me ask you this. You know, we saw that absolutely wild one that you showed us earlier that looked like a rainbow flag. If you're in a, you know, small to medium sized town and you're trying to do something like this for, you know, a dentist, and you've got, let's say there's 20 dentists in your area, you know, would you have to go that crazy, or would that be much
that's
simpler to
overkill.
really?
No, I think
Yeah.
what Gary said at the very beginning, you know, start off
Right.
with 5.
Okay.
Right. And then, you know, use the backlink tool that we're going to give everybody here today, a basic backlink tool. Okay. And use that to, you know, put some more power into the links that you're sending out with the quad stacks. Right.
Nice.
And that's why we added it as a free bonus to everybody, because we know that we can give you another piece of the tool that has a Google backlink to it. You know, you can't go wrong. Now, it's not quite the same as the Pro Backlink Factory, but it's still very good because we used it for years before we developed the Pro.
Sure.
So the combination of the two can work good for any medium-sized local business, you know, that, you know, like you just said, you know, the dentist in a small town or a medium-sized town. Yes, it can work pretty well. And, you know, if you need more juice, you build another stack on top of the 5, then you go 6. By then, you know what you're doing. So it's
Love
not
it.
going to be that hard to build a 6th, 7th, or 8th one, because you've done the first 5, and now, you know, from a repetitive perspective, you know exactly what to do. It won't take you very long at all.
Love it.
All right. Dale is asking, what's the difference between basic and pro? Like I just said, basic, you know, gives you your basic backlinks, and pro gets into taking your backlinks and making authority docs and putting your authority docs within the backlink itself, so that there's more relevancy to that backlink than just the backlink itself. So it gets to be, you know, much more complicated. Guys, I got my grandson's birthday is like now. So I have to run and leave you and Rod, Ray, to the rest of this. I appreciate the time. And I tell you, you want to hear a funny story? I'll tell you real quick.
Heck yeah.
My son is into Pokemon. Grandson, sorry. Okay. And you know the video that we just saw ranked #1?
Yep.
I just got a mystery package from him, you know, in the mail yesterday with all the Pokemon cards that he sent me to give my grandson for his birthday.
Nice.
Says, if you could get my Pokemon ranked, you know, blah, 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 I got a special gift package for your grand. I said, okay, I'm on, baby.
Well, you know, that's something to really think about here in a very serious note. As you're doing all this stuff, don't forget there's a lot of power in this. You know, I quite often eat for free around here. You know, and get a lot of things from people because we do all of these different things. So, you know, yes, we're still getting paid, but there's a lot of times where, you know, you're going to get other things than just cash money that can be very beneficial. I know my friend Jean, she trades out some of this kind of stuff with like a local restaurant. So what she does is she does certain things for these restaurants in exchange for, you know, I'm going to eat free X amount per month. And then when she's got a new client, she'll bring the client to that restaurant. They both eat for free. and she's buying them lunch, but without buying them lunch. So there's a lot of things you can do that can really benefit you besides just collecting cash. I mean, we all want to collect cash, but there's a lot of other things you can get out of this as well.
Yeah, you're not talking about Gene with the last initial K, are you?
Well, I certainly am.
Gene Calenda, my baby doll. Yeah, she's got it dialed in, man. Just like you're saying, it's really
Yep.
cool. So, all right, guys, I got to pop off. I really appreciate it, Ray, and we'll do a back channel here later on. But listen, guys, if you're in here, all I can say is this stuff works. Very inexpensive. Learn the course. Gary is the teacher on the course, not me. Gary, he created this. It's his brainchild. He's in there. He's helping you. You will not get lost. And if you do get lost, he's a little bit like Jesus and Peter underwater. He'll reach his hand down and pull you up when you start sinking.
Well, and there's, in that group too, there's a lot of people that answer questions, even when you guys aren't the ones sitting there answering the questions, there's a lot of people that are in there doing that. So you'll get a lot of attention.
We do have a couple renowned speakers that are also in our groups, without mentioning their names, because if you go to any of the SEO events, 2 or 3 of them are often speakers at those events. So there are some very, very smart people involved in our groups. Has a question that says, are the attached documents actual attachments, or are they links to Wikipedia? No, they're actual attachments, Dale. We actually create those docs and we use the share links, but when we do the attachments come directly from your drive. That's how it works. And we don't use a ton of Gmails with the software. You might use 1 or 2. You can do up to 600 calendars. And yes, you can give access to the client if you choose to. I would never do that. I do want to, let me show you why. Guys, I'm going to give you a real quick, short little lesson on the calendar. This is bonus time before we close it out. But if I were to go to any event, let me drop this down for a second. If I were to go to these events, if this was up here, and I can't actually get, well, I can get to it. If I were to edit this, I could edit this link, change it, and my target is now gone. Okay, so it works like a buffer doc. I can change one link, and I've shut my client off if they don't pay me.
That's always a good thing.
Okay.
Now, let me ask you this too. This is just something that popped into my head. So let's say you build this entire giant stack thing, and let's say you're trying to rank a YouTube video, and maybe that YouTube video suddenly is no longer valid. Something's changed. You got to make a whole new video.
Okay.
What if would it make sense on that buffer doc, that last link in the buffer doc being a tracking link, so that it's pointing to video X? Well, you had to make a new video. You can just change that link so that it now points to video Y. Would that be possible, or is that going to hurt anything?
Yes.
Okay, good.
That's the beauty of a buffer doc, is the ability to change on the fly to anything, or just shut it off, period, either one.
Yeah, that's right. You could just change the link at the end, so that wouldn't even matter.
I promised everybody a quick story before we close this out. And I'm going to assume that a good majority on the call do local clients. And as we spoke about earlier, everyone has experienced that client called up after you did all the work, you got them into page 1 or in a 3-pack or whatever, and all of a sudden their phone is ringing, but they don't want to keep paying you because now they think they don't need you. I mean, how many, give me a 1 if you had that experience.
Yeah, I've had that one.
Everybody's had that one.
I'll probably see that one in another week or two.
I want to tell you how to deal with that call.
Do well when I gotta do all this stuff.
I want,
Yeah.
I have a specific method of how I deal with that call. Okay? And the first thing I'm gonna do is just like I showed you, is I'm gonna go take I control all the properties, they don't control them. So I'm gonna go shut the juice off, and they're gonna drop out of the 3-pack like a lead ball.
I was going to ask you that. So that you think they'll actually, if they made it all the way to number one, they'll drop that quickly too?
They'll drop in 3 or 4 days.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
It is you, but you'll have to give me your login information. So if we did that, then you wouldn't have to worry about it.
I don't know who that is. I hear a voice.
I don't know. Patrick may be on the phone, but folks, here's what's going to happen. I want you to just remember this lesson as long as you do local clients, because after that, remember, being in the 3-pack is about 40% increase in revenue.
Right.
Up to. So lack of the 3-pack is also a drop as high as 40%. So when that phone quits ringing, and that's what's going to happen, the existing business they already have is still going to call. But new business is not, because they're not being found.
Right.
So after about 2 weeks, my phone's going to ring, and here's how the conversation is going to go. Mr. Client is going to say, Gary, you know, my partner and I talked it over, and maybe we think we could go ahead and still budget your service. Okay. Now, most SEO people are going to leave it at that and grab it and run and happy, right? I'm not doing that. So, Mr. Client, here's the problem is when you left, I went ahead and replaced you, and I have X number of employees that we use, and they're trained. To take on any more clients, I've got to train new people. And I can't hire them for the same price I hired them a year ago when I took you on. You know, in order to hire and train new people, I've got to get about a 15% increase of what I was already charging you. So if that's acceptable to you, you know, give me a call on Monday. We'll do a new contract.
Nice.
Okay. Do you think that client will ever quit on you again?
Probably not.
Okay. That's a lesson that only has to be learned one time. Okay. One time. See, client retention is as important as client acquisition.
And by the way, speaking of that, one thing that we need to know too, a lot of times, and this is the case, if you've got a client who maybe the clients that they get aren't buying their stuff all the time, they tend to forget who it was they bought it from, and they go back and they search on Google again, and if they're gone, they're going to call the competition.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, think about how many times, I mean, obviously, you know, you may remember who your dentist is, but there's going to be a lot of things where you're like, crap, who did I buy that from again? I can't remember who it was. Oh, well, I'll just look it up, and somebody else shows up and you buy it from them. So there's power in the returning stuff with that too. Now there's a couple of questions here I want to throw out here. Matthew said, can we point the buffer to GMB? And by the way, Matthew, I still call it GMB because it sounds much better.
I do too. I do the same
The
thing.
answer is hell yeah. That's what that's the whole point.
100%. You do. You always want to use a buffer to a GMB. Always.
Yep, that's the whole point of this, is to build that stuff, and then that buffer site drops it right to there. Boom.
Control the properties.
Yep. And then, you know, somebody else threw out something here earlier. Where'd it go? It says, so much for that social syndication product that promised first page. Now, Matthew, that was Matthew as well. Don't, there's multiple ways to skin a cat. This is just an extremely fast, powerful way to do that. Those other things that you're doing that are helping, keep doing them. There's no reason not to do them. There's a lot of things that will help. For instance, all those things that taught you how to optimize your Google business profile, you still got to go do that. You still want that. You still want to be getting reviews. You still want to make sure that everything is filled out, because this is going to be very powerful, but people still have to go to those. Just because you're ranking number one, let's say you rank number one, you do all this, you use these stacks, you rank number one with your Google business profile, and it says that you're a 1-star company, you're not going to get phone calls. So you still have to be a 5-star company. You still have to, people still have to be able to look at that and go, yeah, that's the one I want to call. Remember, there's going to be 2 other people in that top 3 with you. And if you're the 3-star and they're the 5-star, it doesn't matter if you're number 1 and they're number 3, they're going to call number 3. So you still got to do all the other things to make sure that things are working properly. When people go to that, they have to have the information. If it's not optimized and the phone number's wrong and you're a 3-star and there's no responses, those things are still going to work against you. So you still want to do those other things. This is just a really good way to crush it to make sure you get there, but you still want to do a lot of those other things because you want to be found everywhere.
There's a basic rule that I've always had. And Matthew and everybody else you need to apply this. If all things are equal, it's the one extra step that gets the juice.
Yep. This is just a very, very, very powerful way to do parts of that. Everything else that you're doing, you still want to get those citations everywhere else that you normally get. You still want to be in, Yellow Pages and Yellow Book and all that to get that kind of stuff. But you definitely want to, this is something nobody else is going to be doing. Everybody can go to Thrive and make sure that they're in, the top citation sites. Everybody can make sure their stuff is filled out properly. There's probably nobody else is going to be doing this in your town.
Okay.
And that's going to be the big difference.
Any final questions before we?
Let me ask you one question
Sure.
here that I'm curious about. When you're building these things, let's say that you've got, you want to rank your website, but you also want to rank your Google business profile. Could you take that last buffer site and put a link to each, or do you want to build a whole different stack for each one?
Well, it's a great question, and it would be determined on a couple of things: how much work I want to do,
Yeah, I
Okay.
figured that.
and how busy my VAs are right now, because I'm not going to do it. But does it make sense? Everything that you're looking at, I manually have done. Okay. Everything we've ever done in a software had to be able to be manually tested before we put it into a software. Okay. So the process has to be manually proven before we ever move forward. Now, if I'm looking at I most likely would do separate quads
Okay.
and separate buffers. Can you do with a single? Yes. Okay. Well,
Is it mathematical, like you're literally splitting the power in half if you do that, or is it not?
No, I don't think so. Look, I generally for my buffers, I tend to use G sites.
Sure.
And at G site, I can link my header, my footer, I can link an announcement bar, and I can make a click link. It's just my basic pointing links. Just my basic. I could do more. Does it make sense to do more?
Right.
And that's the question. In all things we do, we test. Because it's all theory till you prove something. Okay, it's valid theory and it's principled theory, but it still becomes theory until you've got enough test cases to prove what you're talking about. And
Yeah. So in other words, if you got a roach walking across the room, you could spray it with Raid or you could burn the neighborhood down. Either one's going to work, but why would you burn the neighborhood down?
Exactly. Exactly. I suspect that the two buffer dock way of doing things makes more sense. But there's no way, it's just my belief, because you gotta remember the quad stacks system is approximately 7-8 weeks old from when I started it and shared it to the first few people till we did the course, until we did the webinars. It was just basically theory that we had to go out and prove. So I can't really give you a straight answer. I give you my opinion.
Well, it's a lot to think about, that's for sure.
Oh man, if you don't need Depends by now, something's wrong. Okay. Did everybody learn something today that's still on?
I learned that I'm excited to learn more.
Yeah. But
And I know you said
we're
you
just
aren't-
scratching the surface, guys. We're just scratching the surface.
The sick, twisted part of all this is, you said, well, you're not going to do all this yourself. I'm sitting there thinking, I can't wait to do this myself the first time at least, because I'm going through the trainings right now, but I haven't started like doing it yet. But I can't wait to get my hands and actually do. I love getting my hands in there and doing this, and it's to my detriment because obviously I'm not going to be doing something else when I'm doing that. So I need to learn not to do that. But I really can't wait to do this myself.
You want to know why? Look at this, right? This is one account that I've made all these. Okay, so I have 5 VAs that also do the done for yous.
Yep.
So if I got one I need made and I don't have time, and most of the time, my time is, my wife thinks she's a widow as it is.
Yeah, I get it.
So basically, I'm going to turn it over to one of my VAs, and if it ain't right, I'm going to scream at them.
Well, I'll have to do that as well, I'm sure. But that first time, I just can't wait to do it myself.
Yeah, and naturally, you'll have a lot of fun. The first ones you do, they're exciting to do it.
So Dale asked, was there an offer somewhere for the DFY? I know we put the link
Yes.
to the main one in there, but
If you take that link, it's in the chat. Let me do it. Cut and paste both Rod's contact and that, and I'll put it right in the chat. That's a document that will have the done for you and the course itself both, and it'll have Rod's Skype. All right, guys. Any final more questions that's urgent?
throw them out there now. Forever hold your peace and have a good weekend.
Yes. Now, guys, if you have a question and we didn't get it answered, you can ask it in the Skype room.
Yep.
We don't
absolutely.
hold anything back.
Did we give a link to the Skype room, or is that in the doc?
It should be in the doc. If it's not in the doc, Rod will add you to it, or I will, one or the other.
You can meet me in there. I get it on my phone all day long. People asking questions, and I see quad stack this, quad stack that. All right. I don't see any more questions, so I guess we must
Okay.
have
Well,
been the
Sweet.
greatest teachers of all time.
all right, everybody, we're gonna go ahead and close it out. We hope you had a good time and you learned something today.
There is one more thing.
Oh, okay.
I sound like Steve Jobs now. One more thing. And in fact, there it is. Yeah, Ted just asked the exact thing I was going to say. There will be a recording. It will be
Yes.
sent out. So look for that. I don't know. Will the system will automatically contact them as well, right?
I believe so.
But I will be sending it out in an email to everybody, whether you showed up here or you didn't. I'll be sending it out to everybody because I know there was a lot of people. I was a little worried because we actually had a huge number of people that signed up, and I was like, oh, that's more than we can fit in here. So fortunately, hopefully nobody got locked out, but we'll be able to send that out and everybody be watching that. We will be putting it onto YouTube as well, and I'll send that link so you can watch it there as well. So you'll be able to get it in a few different ways. All right. Any other questions? If not, let's get out of here for the weekend.
All right, guys. It's been fun. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Again, if you got any questions, go to the Skype group or just reach out to me. You got everybody on here knows exactly how to get me. Most of you even have my phone number. So just, in fact, I'll put it in here again in case some of you don't have it. This is my direct phone number. That's literally my cell phone sitting at my desk. Usually somebody will call in like 2 seconds just to test me, but it is my phone at my desk. So if you have any questions, call me. Again, I'm learning this too, so I may not be able to answer all the technical questions for it, but I can always get those technical answers for you. So feel free to do that. All right. Okay. I think we're good.
All right, guys.
So you guys have a good weekend. We'll see you next time.